Ever wondered how comic artists brought your favourite superheroes and villains to life through inks? Ever wondered what tips might help you become the best inker you can be? Find out by watching this class about comic book inking.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Wan and I'm the creator of Focus Comic. I'm an award-winning artist and I'm also an art educator too. I want to welcome you to today's class
where I will teach you how to ink comic books. You will learn about the benefits of inking your work and how to transform pencil line art into inks using techniques such as hatching, cross-hatching and stippling. These techniques will enhance your artwork and give your artwork greater impact. This class will be suitable for students between 14 and 18. What you will need for today's class is paper, pencil, eraser, ruler, black inking pens such as Copic multiliners and a black Copic alcohol marker. Optional items include white correction fluids and S-curves. I would recommend that you use sustainable materials such as recycled smooth Bristol paper because it's better for the environment and the ecosystem.
So let's talk about the importance of comic inking.
A professional inker polishes the art by the penciler and prepares it for reproduction. The inker doesn't just trace over the pencils with ink, but often plays a role in cleaning up the pencil lines, adding depth and weight to a page, and giving it a three-dimensional look. The inker uses the placement of light and shadow to add prominence to certain elements and recede others based on what is most important. Different types and thicknesses of lines are used to create shape, texture, space, pattern, energy, movement, and optical illusions. The use of lines can demonstrate delicacy or vigor. Curves may take us slowly uphill or shock us with sharp, unexpected twists. A line can express various moods and feelings. Inking adds depth and shading and gives the image more definition. The inker can help lead the eye through the page, set the pace of the action, and create or enhance the mood of a scene. The importance of inking in comics should not be undervalued, and it is important for any comic artist to have a basic understanding of inking techniques to create notable works.
I want to begin with choice of art supplies.
Paper. There are many different types of paper you can use for comic drawing. Any type of paper will do if you are creating art for yourself. Comic professionals tend to choose smooth Bristol board for penciling, inking and colouring because it is heavier than drawing paper, have greater integrity, have minimal bleed through, feathering or inconsistency of line. It keeps your lines sharp, markers vibrant and doesn't soak up too much ink or rip through. Inking tools. There are many different types of inking tools you can use, including sable brushes and crow quill pens with Indian or Sumi inks, and inking pens such as Microns and Copic multiliners. I encourage you to experiment with a wide range of inking tools to broaden your repertoire of skills.
For this particular class, however, we'll be experimenting with ink pens so that you can improve your skills with comic book inking.
I recommend you use black Copic multiliners, otherwise any black marker will do. The main rationale for recommending black Copic markers for this class is because Copic markers are waterproof once dried, and are designed not to bleed when combined with Copic colour alcohol markers. I want your inked art to look its best if you choose to apply traditional medium alcohol based colour to it afterwards. Multiliners are the ideal choice when consistent line flow and precision counts. Copic multiliners come in a variety of nib sizes and colours. The larger the number, the thicker the nib. You can always create thicker lines by using multiple strokes using a thin nib. For larger areas of black, I tend to use black Copic alcohol markers. There is always the option of choosing digital inks, but we are not covering that today because I'm aware that some of you guys might not have the right digital tools for that at home. Before we move on, I want to show you some great examples of art by 3 notable comic inkers. The first inker is art by Joe Sinnott, most famously known for being Jack Kirby's finest finisher. Sinnott began inking Fantastic Four issue 44, codifying Jack Kirby's vision of the Thing. Sinnott had a bold, smooth, precise style of inking which influenced the look of Marvel for many decades. The second inker is Klaus Janson, most famously known for inking Frank Miller's art and for being a major stylistic influencer for Marvel and DC Comics since the mid-70s. His style is dramatic, intense, bold, heavy with thick brushstrokes. His world is invariably dark, with lots of contrasting shadows and visual energy that typifies noir thrillers such as Touch of Evil. The third inker is George Klein, most famously known for inking John Buscema's art. His inking is characterized by simplistic rounded shadows, beautifully tapered feathers coming off his contoured lines. He gave the art volume and a three-dimensional experience of the scenes taking place. You can learn a lot from just studying how these inkers approached their art. There are so many ways an inker can translate pencil art into inks, and the fun bit is exploring how you can make the story come to life through your interpretation and choice of inking style. Take a look at how these three inkers translated the same pencil art by Jim Talent. All three inkers added their own touch, look and feel. They did not detract or distract from the art. They enhanced and complemented the penciler's art. Together, the penciler, inker and colorist form a team with the shared goal of delivering great art to the audience. Now, all these inkers and modern-day inkers use artistic techniques that have been around for centuries. Artists from several ancient cultures used ink in their fine art drawings. The medium was developed to a high degree in Chinese art during the Tang Dynasty 618 to 906 and Song Dynasty 960 to 1279. During the Renaissance era, stylus, metal point and pen with ink became a widely used medium within the fine arts. I would like to show you some art by the great masters of the Renaissance era, such as Rembrandt, Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. A lot of the techniques that they used have found its influence in modern-day comic inking practices. Rembrandt. This piece is called the Oval. Here you can see Rembrandt used cross-hatching and scribbles to build contrast. If you look closely, he used cross-contour lines to show form and depth in the shadow areas and used a simple outline at a highlight point. He used outline lines instead of using value to separate the forms. The contrast distribution is balanced, with the top right-hand corner being lighter and the bottom left-hand corner being dark. Rembrandt kept the drawing loose so we can experience the feeling of the clovers and appeal to our vivid sense of imagination. These techniques are commonly used by inkers to build monochromatic contrast. What you can learn from this piece of art is that the direction of the strokes are important. Scribbling is an acceptable art form. It is artistic to draw the feeling of things, not the things themselves. And it is easy on the eyes if you keep your lines clean and not furry. Leonardo da Vinci. This famous pen and ink drawing of the Vitruvian Man is iconic because its combination of mathematics, philosophy and art is a fitting symbol of the Renaissance period. Leonardo used cleaned lines, some cross-hatching near the hair and simplistic wavy lines to describe the feeling of hair instead of depicting every strand of hair instead. Michelangelo. The image of the near-touching hands of God and Adam has become iconic of humanity. Michelangelo depicted the hand of God in his sketch using loose, thick and thin lines, hatching and cross-hatching, and depicting the soft feeling of skin and tonal muscle. This is one of the most recognized art globally and continues to influence artists around the world. So in summary, inking techniques that we see in modern comics today are rooted in the fine arts. So I would like to discuss inking tips. How to hold a pen. So there isn't a right or wrong way to holding an inking pen so long you can control it. Having said that, there are more efficient ways of holding a pen and controlling it. There is a common misconception that you need to hold the pen tight in order to have full control over your pen. In actuality, you can have full control of your pen with minimum grip by holding the pen lightly with the pads of your fingers. In ancient China, Chinese artists used to draw on wall-mounted scrolls, which gave them greater flexibility and mobility, leading to more fluid brushstrokes. We are not limited to drawing art on a table. We can mount our art on the wall or on an easel. If you choose to draw on a flat surface table, you will find greater mobility and energy conservation by lifting your palm off the table and using the muscles in your shoulder. Professional inkers can typically spend 12 or more hours inking a large piece of art, so adapting efficient ways of working could make your life a lot easier. How to use the paper. When you are inking larger pieces of art, you can achieve more consistent lines by spinning the page to pull lines from the same hand and arm position. Use of rulers and S-curves. In addition to the option of using rulers for straight edges, you can use a variety of S-curve rulers, which will give you a smoother and bolder curved line. You may also freestyle it if you want to go for a more organic feel. How to use different strokes. You can make different line weights by altering the pressure, speed, and angle of your strokes. In general, artists tend to use thicker lines for outlines and creating depth in a scene. Objects in the background tend to have thinner lines to create depth. Inking techniques. Spot fills. Spot fills are marked by large areas of black on your art, usually representing dramatic light and shadow deriving from a well-placed light source. If you add shadow to your art, it is important that your light source remains consistent to achieve realism. Linear hatching. This artistic technique is used to create tonal and shading effects, which adds texture and depth. It is achieved by creating a series of parallel lines going in one direction that taper off. You can vary the length, angle, closeness, and other qualities of the lines. The quantity, thickness, and spacing between the lines alters the brightness of the image and thereby creating the illusion of volume. The closer the lines are together, the darker the shadow. Here is a sketch that I did on a blank variant cover. Notice the hatching techniques that I use on Chun-Li's boots. You can see a sense of depth through the application of linear hatching. Cross-hatching. Cross-hatching uses intersecting perpendicular lines that resemble a weaved pattern. It provides a more intricate layer of shading that adds to the three-dimensional feel to a piece of art. Here is a piece of art by Jim Lee, which uses different types of hatching to create a bold three-dimensional look and feel to his art. Contoured hatching. Contoured hatching uses curved lines to describe light and form of contours. Here is a variant cover featuring my art. I created a muscular torso using contoured hatching on Conan's body. These lines added a bold masculine energy to the action scene taking place. Lines play an important role in capturing the movements of the human spirit. Random squiggly lines. With random and squiggly lines, you can have it loose or intense. The looser the lines, the lighter the surface. The greater the frequency of lines produces darker values. This is great for creating texture. Stippling. Stippling involves the use of dots in a pattern to create value, texture, or shadows. You can achieve softer shadows using this method. The more space between the dots, the lighter the value. Here is a piece by Giulio Campagnolia, who invented the stipple techniques in the 1500s. Feathering. There are many different ways you can feather lines. One way is to draw a collection of parallel lines tapering out. The hidden line that it creates is also a type of line you can shape too. There are also various other feathering techniques you can try, including tapered feathering, curving with the form, and thickness gradation. So I want you to experiment with different lines and different combinations of lines together to create unique forms and textures. Practice. I would like you to practice drawing different types of lines. Lines don't have to be plain. They can be stylistic, varying in thicknesses and shapes. So your first exercise is to get used to your pen. I would like you to draw 3 lines that are straight. Now I would like you to draw 3 lines that start thick to thin. Draw a simple line, then thicken the line on one end, like so. So it gives the illusion of one stroke, going from thick to thin. This is a tapered line. Now I would like you to draw 3 lines that start thin to thick. Next, I would like you to draw 3 lines that start thick to thin, then thick again. Now I want you to try a fractured line. That's 2 tapered lines opposing each other to emulate a white streak going through the illusion of one stroke. And then there are multiple fracture lines which convey movement. Another thing to try is using negative space methodologies. You can cut the black line into black space and inverse the black line to white. Another technique is getting the line to taper into non-existing spaces, alluding to continuity like so. Another technique includes frayed edges. And lastly, you can give the illusion that you are using a brush by emulating the effect with any thin marker. You now have the experience to interpret the world using various stylistic lines. So for the rest of this class, I want you to apply everything that you learned about inking to practice. So I want you to draw yourself as a superhero or a villain. Now once the pencil art is done, I want you to use your ink pen and apply everything that we learned today to practice. If you decided to draw yourself as a villain, you can achieve a sinister look by having your light source under the chin. The shadows will make the villain look scary. I want you to experiment, plan and make multiple ink sketches of yourself as a comic character. I want you to reflect on, re-engage, revise, refine your art and design based on relevant traditional and contemporary inking techniques and your personal artistic vision. I want you to synthesize knowledge of social, cultural, historical and personal life with art-making approaches to create meaningful works of art and design. If you are unsure on whether your choice of lines and inking techniques look good, you're always welcome to ask a friend or family member about which type of inking technique they prefer. If you ask a number of people, then you can gain a general consensus of what the public thinks of your art. Remember to thank people for their opinion, even though you may not agree with their thoughts. Having insights about public opinion can be valuable. Equally, if someone asks you for your opinion about which direction they should take with their art, it would be kind to share your opinion in a constructive way. Having an open dialogue about art can be inspiring and help us relate to the world and our community in meaningful ways. At the end of the day, it's your character creation, so you can ink your heroes and villains any way you want that conveys meaning to you.
So I hope you found today's class helpful.
If you want to learn more, please feel free to ask me questions.
I encourage you to experiment with
Inks at every opportunity that you get,
because it's going to really help you become the best artist you can be.